Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Oasis Wellness with my co host, Whitney. How are you this morning?
I am existing this morning intentionally. That's what I'll say. I'm intentionally existing.
I love the intentional part of it. Before we get started with our topic today, I just want to remind everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure that you stay to the end because we have great conversations here. Mom and daughter just kicking it. And, actually, I go back and I listen to our podcast, and they actually bless me and help me to just stay, just like what you just said, intentional about things. So, I'm excited about today's topic. Our topic for today is talking to the woman inside of you, and it was birthed from I stalked. Come a little closer, y'all. I stalk all of my children's socials because sometimes that's how I get to just kind of see some insider stuff. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, but sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's how she really feels. But or he, but talking to the woman inside of you, I was just this morning waking up and looking at my daughter's post, and she posted a picture that just took me way back when one of I mean, I've been very, very proud as a mom. Just, and just I'm going to speak just for about you, Whitney, today. You've reached so many like levels, and you set another goal, and you reach it, and you set another goal, and sometimes from the outside looking in, it just looks like you've carved this little perfect picture, and it's like you it kind of. And I think about myself, I'm like the Superman cape that my son said that I wear. And so today, talking to the woman inside of you and looking at that post and seeing the picture of you being the drum major in your band, and
Hmm.
just thinking about that time, and even thinking about I still have that picture in the newspaper when you were on the cover. I still have that, like in my archive of things. But so your post today. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired that post and what the post was, because everybody haven't read it?
Sure. Yes. So it popped on my timeline. One of my fellow drum majors at the time, she had posted it 5 years ago. So it was one of those Facebook memories that pops back up. You shared this 5 years ago, and I looked at it and I was like, man, she's sitting there unassuming, like she just doesn't know. She doesn't know what she doesn't know, and it's not her fault. But she's 17. I just was thinking about her, that me version of me in the picture, and I was like, if I could have a conversation with her to help her, like maybe not have to hit some things so hard between then and now, like what would I have told her? And so it just started to kind of come out, like things I would have liked to have shared with her. Obviously, I know them now, so life has allowed me to learn and to grow through those things. But man, it was a lot. It
I
was a
know.
lot that I started to think of. And so I just wanted to share that and just engaging some conversation on social with other people that are like, if I could go back and I could tell me this, what would it be? What would those things be that would I don't know, just maybe make it a little bit easier.
So share some of those things that you shared in your post. Like, what really, yeah, what would you tell her? Because I looked at her too, and I was like, man, it seems like yesterday, but it also seems like so long ago at the same
I know.
time.
Exactly, exactly. I think as I was writing it, and I have it pulled up, I'll pull a couple of them out. But as I was writing it, I was just thinking about how much I do realize that I've accomplished things, but in my mind, it still feels like at times it's not enough. Like it's just never enough. There's that, where's that? Oh, my favorite Greatest Showman. And one of the songs, she's talking about him, essentially Barnum or whatever, about how like it's never enough. It's never enough for you, never enough for you. And how for her, it was just never enough, never enough. And it's just this really beautiful song that just kind of outlines it. But it just struck me because it was like, I feel like that's essentially how I've built my life the way that it is. It was like there weren't a lot of moments to celebrate because I was always trying to prove to somebody that it was enough, that what I was doing was enough, that I was enough. And it just like, in therapy, I've kind of worked through some of those conversations in terms of where it came from. But I was like, what if I knew I was enough at 17? what could I
Oh
have built
man.
that wasn't based upon proving myself to somebody else, but just like out of the pure creativity and energy and like zeal and passion and fire that I had as a 17-year-old who had endless possibilities. If I was thinking about, if my perspective was on that and I was building from I am enough versus am I enough? Like, I think
Oh
it
my
just,
gosh.
you know, I don't
No,
know. So,
that is just that's an amazing, amazing thought there, because I mean, and what's so wonderful about what we're doing here is thinking about, you know, like, we hear what we hear, because as a mom, I felt like I poured, maybe, I poured into you, but I think I also pushed you to do even more, so in a way of me feeling like I was pouring into you, that you are enough, I was actually pouring into you a mixed signal of do more, be better, do,
mm,
and not totally giving you what I thought I was giving you, was affirming that you are enough. But it's like
mhm,
how we receive and then how we express, because the same thing that you're saying is that, you know, in all transparency, because we said we are going to be transparent, you know, I wanted to give my children what I wanted to get from my mom. And so I realized that my experience with my mom was totally different than the experience my brother had with my mom.
yeah,
And so it's like we had two different relationships, and he never understood the tumultuous relationship that me and my mom had. But moms and daughters often have a different kind of relationship than moms and sons, especially when my brother was out of a love child. And I wasn't, and I've shared, and I'll share more in my documentary. So you guys, and in my book that's coming up, next book that's coming up. So you guys, that's a teaser. But and that is just such a good point. So I try to be what I wanted,
mm,
in my relationship with my children, and with my daughter. So, and I am so grateful to be able to have this time to now understand what it means to live intentional,
yeah, yeah,
understand what it means to be present, because I've often apologized to you guys about this, because I know, being a single divorced mom, I wasn't always present. My body was there, but my mind was on how I was going to make money to be able to provide for you all, because my pledge that I took to myself and God was that you gave me these beautiful gifts, and I'm going to do everything that I can to provide for them and give them a launching pad from 19 and above. Give them a launching pad, at least get them to 19. And
yeah,
something I want to share that you blessed me with before we get back to your list of what you're telling yourself. Um, when you called me from college and I said, well, you don't need anything or what have you, you said, well, Mom, you've done your part. Now it's time for me to execute on what you taught me. And I just, that stayed with me from when you called me back. I mean, the whole time, guys, that she was in college, how I remember when we were in college, we lived off of ramen noodles. Woo! Can't stand those things now. Ramen noodles and bounce checks, because we would bounce it and then pay for it and whatever we was doing, those college days. But here I was so pleased and proud of even what I had put inside of her, because she asked me one day, the whole 4 years now, for $25, because her budget didn't balance. And it was 20. God, do y'all understand this? 4 years of college, and she only asked for $25. She finagled and found out how to get her scholarships and her grants, and how to, what is it, work study and all of that. And she wouldn't let us give her any money, or let me give her any money, except for, she said, well, Mom, and she said, they think that I'm an alien here because I balance a checkbook. Everybody else is bouncing checks.
yeah. You guys would sneak. I remember that. You, grandma, and my auntie, y'all would sneak me money in envelopes. Like I would get random envelopes with like $10 here. Like I know you don't need it, but here, like here's a little something. Go get some lunch, something like that. And that's what I mean. And this is, I guess, this is saying to you in that like everything that you did though was enough. Like you were enough as a mom. You
Hmm.
were enough every single day. You showed up and you were present and you were absolutely enough as a mom. Like you taught me those things and you showed me how to be independent. And I never felt like this is I guess when you're in like psychology classes and all that, or they talk about like, I don't even know how to explain it, but they'll talk about like at risk. That's what I'm trying to say. They'll talk about at risk youth. And because of where we lived, I actually did have some opportunities to participate in some at risk first generation college student programs and things like that. And a lot of that, like the psychology and the conversations that we would have in like the small groups would be like trying to work through traumas that come with like, you know, your parents tearing you down, or, you know, people telling you and your family you're not good enough, or like, and like peers were working through that and they were trying to like push through that to be able to be a first generation college student and to press and push. And I would always sit there like, that ain't my, like that, but that's not my thing. Like I've never ever felt like my family wasn't there for me, or my family didn't tell me to do. If I think about it, it's always been like, shoot for the stars. Like, you got this. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can, whatever you want to be, like, you can do it. So I never felt the pressure of it. And that's why I was working through it in therapy, because I'm like, I don't even know where I'm not enough came from, like from the family that I was a part of. But it transpired from being, from essentially not having my father around.
Yeah.
That's where it came
Yeah.
from. Always trying
Yeah.
to prove to a male that I was
Mm.
enough for them to stick around.
That's such a powerful lesson, and it's such a powerful lesson because, those are some of the things that you think about when you've gone through a divorce and you are now a single mom, and especially when the father is completely absent. And I know that's not, we're getting ready to have a podcast about fathers being in the home, but in our situation, the father had an invitation to be a part, but just chose not to for whatever reasons. And
Mhm.
so I remember one day, and it's kind of, it's funny as a mom, because you're like, okay, I'm doing everything, but you cannot, be that part that's missing. And that's the piece that, I don't know how to or what to give to our single mothers or single parents, because that's the piece that no matter how hard you try, no matter what you pour in, no matter what you do, even the failed attempts to date a dad for you, those kind of things, all these things in your mind, they just
Yeah.
they don't necessarily work. But I think early therapy would have been part of the ticket. That's the piece that I missed out on, was thinking about that, because I remember one day, you were crying about, well, I just want his time, or I just want something like that. And I remember grabbing your hand and saying, well, look, we have an iron, look, we have a roof over our head, look, we have this, and let's get on our knees and we're gonna pray. I remember having that meltdown.
Yep. We were both melting
And I'm
down
like,
at the same thing. I
I
was
don't want
touching
to
the arm of
damage my child, but look, be grateful. And
oh
that
my,
was just wow.
you
Just
know,
enough though, and that's huge though, just knowing that, ladies, I just press upon you to understand, look in the mirror, and those positive affirmations, tell yourself you are enough, just who you are, just being who you
yeah,
are. Because even I've had that, where I haven't felt enough, even as a parent, as I was giving and doing, and I kept feeling guilty about always being so focused on work, always so focused on, I got to do this because this is what provides, I got to do this because I want them to go to bed, I want them to go to prom, I want them to do this, and I want them to experience some of the things that I myself, I had to work and provide all of those things for myself. Because my mom, her philosophy was, I'm providing the necessities, a roof over your head, food, clothes, and shelter. That's what I'm providing for you. Now, if you want to go on your trips, you want to do this or whatever, you got
yeah.
to go get a job to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be the opposite of that and say, here, I want you to do these things and participate. But going back to talking to the woman inside of you, I kind of went on a tangent, and we want to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. So a couple, let me see, let me pull it back up here. Um, I don't know. Which one do you want me to share? Or should I just read a bit and then expound on it?
That's fine. However, it's your world right now.
Okay, so I won't read the whole thing. I'll read just kind of a couple of the thoughts that I was having.
Okay.
So at 17, something that I would have told my 17-year-old self, the stuff you're worried about, you won't even remember it. the boy that was tripping, you won't remember his last name. The test you were stressing about, like that doesn't, it won't define your identity if you do great in it or you don't. Like as a woman, like those people that you're trying to impress, in their mind, they're trying to impress somebody else. It's a whole big circle. Um, the woman, this was a good one for me. The woman you will grow into is already inside of you. You're not trying to grow into her shoes. And I think that one for me was like, I don't know, just that realization that like if I'm always trying to grow into my shoes, I'm never gonna fit my shoes. Like I'm never gonna fit it if I'm always trying to say I'm not enough yet to be all that I can be. Like, no, in this very moment, right now, if I don't grow, enhance, advance, and this is not to say like be a bum on a log or anything like this, but you know what I'm saying? Like if I don't just appreciate who I am in this very moment and everything that is about me, my flaws, my great things, then I'm never gonna think I'm good enough. So
Hmm.
that was something for me. This is a good one. You don't have to figure it all out today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now. Like embrace today, learn from the day, and then exhaust today, and then let tomorrow come as it is, with the only exception being or expectation being that you will embrace tomorrow. You'll learn from tomorrow and you'll exhaust tomorrow. Um, that one for me was important because I'm really learning about as a wellness coach, mindfulness and what it means to be in the present moment and to exist in this moment now today. Because I don't want to be the person that is 85 years old and I look up and I'm like, well, I was always trying to become something. I was always trying to do something, and I don't even remember what flowers smell like, or I don't know what my favorite color is, or like I just don't want to be whitewashed by everything that's going on around me because I'm moving so fast. Like, think about when you're in a car. This is the imagery that comes to mind. Like, when you're looking forward and you're driving, everything is coming at its like natural speed. But if you turn to the side in the window, those trees are like zooming by. You didn't change your speed, but they're like zooming by. And I just don't want to get stuck in that position where life is just like zooming by. I can't see anything. I don't have any focus. Like, I want to turn my head. I want to focus on where I'm going, and I just want to be present in the moment and like accept it and see the views and like experience the beauty and like not feel like my life is so sped up because I'm speeding it up. So,
Girl, drop the mic right now, man. That was like so. That was such. I mean, that was such. Um, what do you call it when you're on the same page mentally? Mentally, like you just zapped into my thought because we
mm,
were talking before we started the podcast a little bit about the moment of right now. Like in the moment of right now, there's a lot of, and I think it might be because of the climate of what we're living in, as far as the
yeah,
COVID. It's always in the back of our minds, and a lot of anxietous moments that's happening right now, and a lot of, I know we walk by faith and not by sight. And they say that faith and fear don't occupy the same space, but I don't believe that, because you can have faith. You can have faith, but it doesn't mean that the fear is not going to creep in.
yeah,
You're just fighting that fear.
mhm,
You're leaning into, like I lean into scripture, and it's a place where you just said about life, the trees going like this.
mhm,
And I believe I've sped everything up, and that's where I've lived instead of living in the focus. So it's a hard shift to pull yourself to live in the focus. And
yeah,
that's what I'm working on right now. I didn't want an opportunity to miss, because, okay, this opportunity provides for this. This opportunity provides for this. This
yeah,
opportunity provides for this. But actually, what I learned from one of my mentors, he said, you chase two rabbits, you catch neither.
mhm,
So the focus now, and I just recently, when you put something out there, you get tested in that area. And so I just recently had to pump the brakes, because I had to learn, and I never lived in limitations. Like, there aren't any limitations. But what I've learned is that when you focus, you just focus. You're not saying no, you're saying just not right now, because that'll
yeah,
steal your focus, and it'll divide you, and then it'll cause a lot of anxiety because you're in fear. You're in
mhm,
fear that you're going to drop the ball, when if you're juggling 100 balls, there's no way that you're not going to drop one. And that,
yeah,
there's no way that you're not. So, you just where I am right now. And, it just seems like everything was all coming in at one time. And so a friend of mine's passed away yesterday,
mm,
and it hit me in such, and I call her a friend, and she was actually an associate's wife. but such a dear, sweet lady. And, you know, I just, it was like a checkpoint in my life. It became a checkpoint in my life because I started thinking about, you know, we had conversations about, you know, she hadn't gotten her book out. She wanted to write a book about raw foods, and she hadn't gotten that book out because she said that she had poured her life into her husband's business, and she did not put herself into her business, and now she was ready. And now she was ready. See,
Mhm.
so we just don't know. You know, we know that we have this dash in between our birth date and our time to transition. And it's like being focused in each moment and making every moment count versus, okay, I'm going to get to it tomorrow. I'm going to get to it tomorrow. It's like, what's really important? What am I doing right now? And is this what my purpose is about? And am I fulfilling that purpose right now? And
Mhm.
so finally, you know, and you talk about that, you said, you know, what would you tell the young girl, you know, that you were looking at? And when I look at my pictures or what have you, you know, I excuse me, I would tell her to embrace the beautiful you that you are, you know. And I would tell her also, stop trying to yeah, stop trying to impress or think about what everybody else says. Stop worrying about that because it's not important. It's just chatter that
Yeah.
steals your focus. It's just chatter. I was in the store yesterday, and it's so funny. I put myself on blast because I do it all often, and it's just kind of funny to me. I was in the store yesterday, and I've always had an issue with my knock knees. The reason I had an issue is because people told me of something wrong with it, right? And
Mhm.
so I started thinking, oh, why I have to be built with like a K? I always thought it was like the special K cereal. It's like, oh, but I've had, you know, men to tell me before, that's unique, that's beautiful, I like that. So as I
Mhm.
started walking in the doors, I started glass doors, I started to look, really look, pay attention, look, and I said, wow, that's just extra curve. And you know, things with curves got some oomph to it. So yesterday I was in the store, and this gentleman walked up to me, and I said, sometimes God will send you a message, and it may not be. Sometimes you think, oh, this person, you know, the message is just for that moment, and it's
Mhm.
just for you to get the lesson.
Yep.
He said, you know what? He said, you know, hi, how are you? And then he said, you know, you have the most beautiful knock knees that I've ever seen. He said, my wife had knock knees. And he said, but she had knock knees and pigeon toes. He said, and that was so beautiful to me. And he said, I'm a widow with widower or whatever he said, but
Mhm.
he said she's gone, and we have 4 children. He said, but I just wanted to tell you that today you have the most beautiful knock knees I've ever seen. And he said, have a wonderful day. And he walked away.
Didn't want nothing.
Didn't
Nothing.
want anything, didn't want anything from me, just depositing that into my life. And I wasn't, and yesterday I wasn't feeling like my best. I just got the information about, you know, my you know, associate about the wife passing, and you know, and I felt really, really down. I felt really, really bad. And it was like God just whispered that in my ear,
Mhm.
you know. And I
That
was
is.
like, wow, that was just that's what I say, you know, you never know what you're breathing into somebody else's life when you're walking, when you're talking to them, or what have you. You know, like I said, I was in that place and just kind of figuring out, recalibrating some things. Like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I focused on the things I'm supposed to be focused on? You know, so, you know, getting back to our topic about talking to the woman inside of you, you know, like every day, I look out the window and I see how beautiful it is, how beautiful the trees are, the opportunity to wake up and to, you know, realize your dreams, your purpose, just to be able to say, you know, meet you here on this podcast and say, hey, let's share. Be able to look on the phone and see that beautiful message, and to be able to have a mom-daughter conversation or a mom-daughter relationship that I always wanted with my mother, and understand that she gave me what she could, and that was okay. And now I can build and make and have with my daughters the relationship that I want to have, but now being in the mom's position.
Mm. That just warmed. That just warmed my everything. It warmed my heart and my soul and all that. Um. Yeah. I think in the climate that we're in with COVID and everything, we have all been under a tremendous amount of tension for a tremendous amount of time. Like we've been experiencing like mass death for a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half. And I think what happens, this is what I was thinking in the car on the way here. I was like, I think this fear and anxiety and all that psychologically is essentially people processing not just physical death, but like when that happens for so long, hope starts to feel like that's dying, and like faith and like hope in my dream. Will my dreams ever come to pass? Will I be able to do this or not? Like, will I be able to do that? And I think so death then manifests not just in that physical, but then like in our minds of like all these, like we're grieving potential that could have like manifested into something else. Like it just and it's not just with COVID, it's with like, the systemic racism conversation and everything that's happening around that, and people not knowing, can I step out of my house and be okay? Can I sleep in my bed and be okay? Like that is a lot to deal with over an extended period of time, and it's heavy and it's hard. And I think that's the beauty in the ashes of it all is
Mm,
people learning how to be present in the moment, being grateful, being appreciative of every breath, of every conversation, of every smile, of like, think of it, if you were like so busy and still life going, 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 like those trees zooming by, you may not even have been open to accepting and receiving that gentleman telling you that comment, and like being present in your mind enough to attach what he said to, a thing that had been bothering you for years. Like just us having this stop, stop, slow down. Like this is your life. Live it
yeah,
every moment, not just every day. Like at this point, it's every second, every second, every minute,
yeah,
and allow each of those seconds and minutes and hours to like rebuild our hope. And like there is still future, there is still time, there is still like, we don't have to just we don't have to zoom through everything so fast. That's what I'm really learning. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest lessons that I would tell myself. And then I'm trying to like re-engineer my life backwards of like, okay, I've committed to all these things. Now, how can I unintertwine all that stuff and like, okay, God, what do you really want for me and for my life? And like, if it changes tomorrow, I can be okay with that. And if it changes the next day, I can be okay with that. I won't stump my feet and cross my arms and get mad and try and keep going in the direction you had me going 2 days ago. Like, and that is a discipline. And I think that's not something that anybody perfects. I think it's something that you practice every moment.
hmm. Wow, that was beautiful. That was amazingly amazingly said. I think it's wow. It's about what is it? It's about like when it rains, dancing in the rain. Because once you get wet, you're wet. You know what I'm saying? And not like, oh, I'm wet. Oh, I'm gonna get wet. It's like dancing in the rain. It's about,
Yeah.
singing like nobody else is around. And, for me, again, telling and learning some of these concepts and learning some of these things, just, we're not taught that some of the things we're just not taught as we're, just coming through life. We're not taught. And these are the experiences and the building blocks that we build on. And understand and learning to like, just embrace one another, embrace the day, embrace the beauty, just embrace the blessing of being able to wake up the next day, and being able to say, okay, maybe yesterday's canvas wasn't, bright colors like, beautiful orange and, sunshine yellow and,
Mhm.
ripe tomato red. Maybe it wasn't that, but today I have another opportunity to put those different pitch colors on my canvas, and knowing that I have the power to decide to create what it is that I want it to be. So,
Mhm.
you know, I know we're coming to the end of our time today. Our conversations are so amazing, and I hope they are blessing other people like they're blessing me. They're blessing me all every time I lean into them. Is there some final thoughts that you'd like to leave our people with today?
Final thoughts. I would say I try to leave people with practical things. So, in terms of like just being aware and being present in the moment, I would just say, like, actually practice it. Like, you don't have to sit there and meditate for an hour. That's not realistic if you're not used to being quiet or, slowing down. But like, take 5 minutes and like just intentionally sit. Like, no distractions, no TV, no phone, just sit. And if for extra points, go outside and sit just 5 minutes on a bench or something like that, and just experience, like allow your body to experience it, allow your body to like come down for a second. I feel like a lot of us walk around holding our breath and we don't
Ooh,
even know
yeah.
it. Like we're so tight, we're so tense, and all that stuff builds up into our body. Just give yourself 5 minutes to sit, to be, and to breathe. Like
Mm.
it'll change the game.
Game changer today, man. Game
Yeah.
changer for sure.
Mm.
Well, until next time, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And you all just stay fearless. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.